How exactly is psychology tied to Lucifer and to the Nephilim? And who the heck is Saiki? And why is it psychology, the study of Saiki? She's a goddess or something, isn't she? And what impact has psychology had on Christianity and on mankind in general in the last 100 years? That's what I'm going to talk about today.
And this time we're going to take a look at psychology. Psychology and its connection to Lucifer, to Pan, and demonic activity. In an infinite universe, what makes man think its limited five senses or primitive science can even scratch the surface of potential reality? Is it impossible to believe that beings or worlds and dimensions exist which we cannot detect with our five senses? Jesus himself said no one can see the kingdom of God unless he's born again, from spirit, from above. And then there's demons. People cringe when you say that word. It's messy, like having a bat in the house. Many people don't believe they even exist. Yet a third part of Jesus' ministry centered around problems with demons. Yet in churches, they are a topic to avoid. Mankind, through science, has become sophisticated to the point where stories about demons exist only in remote, third world countries full of superstition, or in Hollywood films. Or do they? Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. Jesus gave that as his final command to us. But does any church you are acquainted with do these things today? Would Jesus or his disciples recognize the church today? Let's explore together what happened to the church over time and what happened outside the church. And how did psychology impact this? How demons affect human behavior, Part 2, Psychology's Occult Roots. This is my hypothesis. Psychology is founded on a lie and a fabrication that draws mankind away from the truth about God, the spiritual, and about true healing. Psyche is in fact herself a victim, like Eve. Let's pick this apart. Psyche, as you probably are aware, is the goddess of feelings. And why did Jesus teach his disciples to remove demons or foul spirits before baptism and before salvation? And why isn't this done today? Psychology's role in altering, reshaping, and crippling Christianity. I'm a scientist and an atheist, so you must be nuts. So here's a close look at the occult roots of psychology. And later on we'll look at Carl Jung. This is the serpent impregnating a woman, one of his drawings. Psychology, like socialism, is about control. At its very roots, psychology was very primitive. What do you do with all those people that are mentally ill? What are the roots of psychology? Where and why did this develop as a science? Well, here's a secret. Lucifer is a legal genius, and he was there at the beginning. And there are a lot of Luciferians in the world right now. But here's something you probably did not realize. Jesus is a legal genius also, and he is the beginning. Psychology. It was so primitive. From throwing people into jail cells to this. This is what it actually looked like back in the 40s and 50s. And over the past 50 years, there has been an astonishing increase in severe mental illness in the USA. The percentage of Americans disabled by mental illness has increased 5-fold since 1955. And this happened after Thorazine, psychiatry's first wonder drug, was introduced onto the market. It was considered a major step up from the days of lobotomy. Doctors that applauded lobotomy would shiv a sharp object into one's brain, into the frontal lobe. The other leap in the science of psychology was zapping away parts of the brain using electroshock therapy. You simply couldn't remember to be depressed. So Thorazine was indeed a type of a step up. It was a drug that took the place of all these wackadoodle sciences. And it was a gigantic moneymaker for corporations that specialized in the manufacture of drugs. That's the key, making money. The number of Americans disabled by mental illness has nearly doubled since 1987, when Prozac, the first and a second generation of wonder drugs, hit the market. And I remember my mom's doctor gave her Prozac one day. Oh yeah, here you go, have some Prozac. 6 million Americans disabled by mental illness, and this number increases by more than 400 people every day. A review of the scientific literature reveals that it is our drug-based paradigm of care that is fueling this epidemic. The drugs increase the likelihood that a person will become chronically ill and induce new and more severe psychiatric symptoms in a significant percentage of patients. These companies are not looking to heal anybody. A sick patient is a wonderful customer and guaranteed for life. The word sorceries in Revelations 9:21 and 18:23 comes from the word pharmakia, and there is some connection here to the word pharmacy, which we must consider as part of the end times prophecy. The following is a case study from real life. I call it Sandras Nightmare. And I include this because this was the first time I'd ever spoken to a demon, or a demon spoke to me, so it's pretty close to my heart. It was a PSYCHE or multiple personality case. I was, in fact, a caregiver for a young woman for 9 years. She suffered from extreme trauma while in college due to being kidnapped in Greece. For the purposes of this video, I will refer to her as Cassandra. Cassandra lost her ability to drive and suffered panic attacks which would sometimes last for several days, and they were horrific. It was often a meat market at the doctor's office, with doctors trying to see as many patients as possible to maximize their fees and test drugs against their theories about what was really wrong with the patient. I would drive her to psychiatric appointments and often be called in to participate or to verify facts about her case. 10 psychiatrists in 9 years, and 10 completely different diagnoses about her condition. Several psychiatrists, knowing the severity of her panic condition, would also diagnose her with ADHD and prescribe Adderall, which contains 5 types of speed and is highly addictive. Cassandra became so addicted to the Adderall, and they made her panic attacks so severe that she would have to be hospitalized every time she took it. Cassandra was an addict. The hospitals would pull her off Adderall, and suddenly she would recover. However, they would hold her for several weeks until her insurance was exhausted. It became a money-making game, and the patient was a cash cow. And this cycle lasted for 9 years. After one visit to a psychiatrist, Cassandra told me that he'd given her a massage in his office to help relax her. He was a neurological expert from Germany, and he died of a heart condition soon after. This was not the only time this sort of thing happened either. One psychiatrist prescribed methamphetamine after talking to her for only 15 minutes. The speed sent her into the hospital within 6 hours. The doctors had her hooked, and it was good for business. National disgrace, as 250,000 patients are turned into drug addicts by their doctors. And that's old news, folks. It's worse now. Professional drug dealers. Let's increase your medication. How many times have I heard that? Cassandra's father was a former CFO of a major pharmaceutical company, and he believed his daughter suffered from multiple personality disorder, and he offered to send her to a PSYCHE specialist in New Jersey. After 9 visits and much testing, the psychiatrist asked me to attend a session. Afterwards, she pulled me aside and said the following. "Are you at all religious?" she said. "Yeah," I responded. Well, she said, "If you tell anyone that I said this, I will deny it. Cassandra does not have multiple personality disorder. She failed the tests. I believe there's something else inside of Cassandra that is causing her to act the way she does. She has a demon. She's demon-possessed. And I'm asking you to be very, very careful with her." It seems to me that we in our advanced Western civilization have been like swimmers without snorkels. Our humanistic, anti-supernatural view of the universe has kept us from recognizing the reality of a demonic realm that has never been far from us. Dirk Prince said that. What barriers or strongholds change the way Christians approach salvation? And why do Christians grow uncomfortable when approaching or even discussing demons or the spirit kingdom Jesus referred to? Why are we locked into a limited way of thinking that denies much of Christ's ministry? Mankind's primitive science includes 2 weak links. The first is evolution theory, which can be de-raveled very easily. And the second is a little bit more complex. It's psychology. If you want to understand how impossible evolution theory is, and how it has affected our school systems from a socialist Nazi Germany to present-day United States and Eurasia, then watch Kent Hovind's seminars. He's got 5 of them out there that are really powerful. But we're going to take a look at psychology, the study of human mind, and this woman, Psyche. Psychology means knowledge about. Psyche was the goddess of soul and feelings. Why Psyche? There are statues to this woman. Who is Psyche? The rise and fall of psychology. Here's a painting of Psyche. Why is the spiritual removed from psychology? And has psychology made the world a better place? Or is psychology merely a band-aid or a medication on the ever-growing problems plaguing mankind? Is it another way to just make money? Can man fix man without the presence of God? How did Jesus fix people in distress? And why is he not our model today? This video is a biblical alternative to the dictates of modern psychology, or the study of human behavior taught through the worship of goddess Saiki, the goddess of soul and feelings. If the spiritual becomes banned in treatment, then what happens if the problem was spiritual? Saiki. She is in fact an attractive human woman. A winged demigod or fallen angel fell in love with Saiki and granted her godlike powers of influence. He gave her special knowledge. She in fact became like a god, just like in Genesis. The Bible mentions this event and cites this as one of the factors which brought about the flood of Noah. The book of Enoch was removed from the Bible 350 years after Jesus was raised from the dead, and it details this event. Giants. Even in India, they had giants. Psyche, the foundation of psychology. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown, Genesis 6:4, when angels corrupted women on earth. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. They begat children that were giants, and they began to drink the blood of human beings. That's the whole purpose of the Exodus, to eradicate the Nephilim. In about 390 AD, the Church of Laodicea, condemned by Jesus in the book of Revelation, held a council to have the book of Revelation and also the book of Enoch removed from the Bible. A compromise was reached, and the Roman churches removed the book of Enoch. Enoch is real, folks. I highly recommend you read it. But in the 1700s, a missionary group found the Book of Enoch in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Christians, not affected by what happened in Rome, maintained the original books of the Bible. This is the church that was uncovered in Ethiopia. But the weird thing was, no one really cared, and it was soon forgotten again. Church in Ethiopia. Recall the Ethiopian eunuch that was converted by Philip. Why did the Ethiopian eunuch travel to Jerusalem in the first place? To celebrate at the temple. That's because he was Jewish. He took the gospel with him back to Ethiopia. In the late 1940s, the book of Enoch was uncovered along with other books of the Bible, such as the book of Isaiah, and these were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Psyche and Pan. The statue of Pan was at the gates of hell in Caesarea Philippi, where Jesus stopped and taught. That was the center of Pan worship. the gates of hell. Remember the gates of hell? Jesus and his disciples went on to the villages around Caesarea. Caesarea Philippi, which sits at the foot of Mount Hermon, butts up against a large cliff, referred to as the Rock of the Gods, where Jesus spoke to Peter. There was a statue of Pan right in the center of that little town. Mount Hermon is also the place where the fallen angels in the book of Enoch made a vow to disobey God and to violate humankind. Coincidence? The leader of the fallen angels in Enoch was named Azazel. Azazel. Who or what is Azazel? The Israelites sacrificed to God Yahweh and were required to release a second goat to someone called Azazel. They would sacrifice one goat and release the second. Aaron shall cast lots over 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat on which the lot fell for the Lord, and use it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord to make atonement over it, that it may be sent away into the wilderness to Azazel. It carried the sin of the people. So how do we view Pan today? And folks, it's hidden in plain sight. It's Peter Pan. We teach our kids this stuff. And what are we teaching them? Here's the last movie on Peter Pan from Hollywood. Hollywood starts with the evil Christian nuns who torture little children. They're chasing them around, they're whipping them. And the Christians push Peter to the point where turns to magic of sorcery and flies to Neverland to become a lost boy forever. He becomes an eternal being. But eternal life is lonely, and Peter needs something in his long life. He needs a companion. And so, with the help of a demon, he entices a human girl to follow him. He seduces her and offers her eternal life to be with him forever in Neverland. This sound familiar? And who's that little demon? Tinkerbell. Pan entices Wendy to encourage others to follow them as well. Humans who become lost boys for eternity. Keep in mind, we delight in selling this story to our children, where Pan is the hero. I wanted to be Peter Pan when I was a kid. It's a love story between the divine and a human, an imperfect eternal being and a human girl. It's the same love story as told in Genesis or in Enoch, the fallen angels. The Book of Enoch connects Azazel with the biblical story of the fallen angels at the 33rd parallel located on Mount Hermon. And these are actual photographs of Mount Hermon. This is where the angels agreed to disobey Yahweh and transform God's creation for their own gain. Mount Hermon is where the oldest temple in recorded history is still located. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him describe all sin. That's out of the Book of Enoch 10:8. Why is this important today? Guess who just made an appearance in Detroit in 2016? Baphomet, lover of Psyche, son of Apollyon, revered by the Freemasons in the 1700s, when Baphomet, or Pan, actually spoke to one of its members, actually gave him prophecy. Pan also sat at the gates of the hell by the Rock of the Gods, where Jesus taught his disciples. Jesus probably looked at a statue almost like this when he was speaking to Peter. Jesus said, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." Jesus presented a clear challenge with his words at the Rock of the Gods at Caesarea Philippi. He didn't want his followers hiding from evil. He wanted them to storm the gates of hell. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Peter had the ability to bind demons. Psychology is founded on a lie and a fabrication that draws mankind away from the truth about God, the spiritual, and the true healing. Psyche is in fact herself a victim, just like Eve. Pan appears again in 2016 at the opening of the tunnel through the Swiss Alps, whose entryway was called the Gates of Hell. Isn't that funny? Maybe not so funny. Hell's Gate, the EU tunnel completion celebration, included Angela Merkel. Revelation 9:11. They have as a king over them the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in the Greek is the name Apollo or Apollyon. When they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war with them and overcome them and will kill them. These are photos of the Gates of Hell opening ceremony, Swiss EU tunnel, the beast rising, and Angela Merkel in 2016. So Carl Jung, a pioneer in the field of psychology and psychotherapy, developed his techniques directly from the occult. Carl Jung, in his Psychology of Archetypes, talks about Apollo or Apollyon, and says that he is the god of values, order, and harmony, and favorable thinking over feeling. Whereas Apollo was actually the god of destruction and the sun god. Here's a painting of Diana awakening Apollo. Jesus defined Apollo as the leader of the demonic realm, who will arrive in the final days to plague mankind. Jesus even identified how Apollo will appear. And he ain't so pretty. Carl Jung also developed the anima and animus, a domain of the unconscious that transcends the personal psyche. Folks, these are demons. In the unconscious of the man, this archetype finds expression as the feminine, or anima. Equivalently, in the woman, it's the masculine interpersonality, or her animus. Occult roots of psychology. Jungians warned that every personification of the unconscious, the shadow, the anima, the animus, and the self, has both a light and a dark aspect. They have dual aspects. They can bring life-giving development and creativeness to the personality, or they can cause petrification and physical death. How wonderful. These are drawings that Carl Jung did in his book, and it's called The Red Book. Here's an illustration of the Tree of Knowledge and the serpent. Here's one, the illustration of the two serpents called Kundalini. Notice a common theme in these illustrations. They have serpents, or they have dragons associated with them. That's because they are based on the Asian Chinese occult and the Chinese dragon gods. Carl Jung, illustration of the goat man or beast, illustration of the woman following the dragon. Jung was inspired by I Ching. What exactly is I Ching? I Ching uses a type of divination called deuteronomy, which produces apparently random numbers, 6 numbers between 6 and 9 turned into a hexagram, which can then be looked up in a Chinese book, arranged in an order and in a sequence. The yin and the yang are lines, either broken or unbroken, stacked upon each other in hexagrams, and these numbers are used to give your future. That's divination. In its ancient usage, a consultation with the I Ching involved the tossing of handfuls of sticks or coins. I Ching consultations are divination. Jung said, "Let us go forth into the world for the benefit of those who can discern its meaning." He was very positive about this. Books written, and every single one of them has a little dragon on it. Dragon I Ching. How the I Ching saved my life. Meet Carl Jung's favorite oracle to access your own inner wisdom. Consult your demons, folks. The path of the horned goat. And, of course, the path of the dragon. This is the father of modern psychology and psychoanalysis. This is his drawing of the dragon. I Ching, a version for optimism. I Ching, transpersonal psychology. If something spiritual or supernatural happens to you, or you hear a voice, or you witness something that does not fit the mainstream, chances are they will say you need to see a psychiatrist. Science will not tolerate what it cannot measure unless it has to do with evolution or the Big Bang Theory. You will be analyzed, and they will try to fix you. Humanism has at its roots Greek philosophy, exactly where the worship and the study or the knowledge of psyche came from in the first place, or psychology. It is one of the major satanic forces at work in the world today and will ultimately open the way to the Antichrist. Well, that ends part 2, psychology and its occult roots. Part 3, we're going to take a deep dive into demons and the demonic kingdom, how it's structured. If you have any questions, leave a note or a comment, and please like this video. Jesus said, "Be wise as serpents and innocent as doves." Keep your faith. I am coming soon. I know this was a lot. God bless you.